Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for our Hodgins School Pledge.
I am a student full of wonder, eager to ask questions and make connections. I will respect, appreciate, and learn from the world around me. I am proud to be a honeybee.
Please be seated for the moment of silence.
You cannot always build the future for our youth, but you can build our youth for the future. Franklin D. Roosevelt, 32nd President of the United States.
Welcome to our Friday celebration. We have been studying about the 1920s, also known as the Roaring Twenties. The 1920s was a time of change in the U.S. For the first time in history, more people lived in the city than in the country, and women played a bigger role in society. We would like to share some of the highlights of this very important time in history.
In the 1920s, women began to change their image and take on more roles in society. They dressed differently, cut their hair, and began to going to dance halls and dancing, something women had never done before. The 19th Amendment was nicknamed the Anthony Amendment after Susan B. Anthony, a suffragist who fought for women's rights. This amendment was added to the Constitution in 1920, and it gave women the right to vote.
The Model T was the most common car in the 1920s. It was created by Henry Ford. He was famous for using the assembly line to mass produce cars. This made cars more affordable. The Model T cost $265, so most families could buy one. With so many cars on the road, more roads were needed, as well as gas stations and motels, because people could travel farther. That created more jobs for Americans.
The airplane was invented in 1903. The first planes were mostly used in the military for carrying supplies and fighting during World War I. In the 1920s, pilots experimented with planes to see if they could go long distances. Charles Linkford became the first person to fly alone across the Atlantic Ocean. That opened the possibility for planes to carry passengers long distances.
Prohibition was the 18th Amendment added to the Constitution. It was a law making it illegal to make, sell, or transport any form of alcohol. The law was very hard to enforce, so it was repealed or taken down by the 21st Amendment in 1933.
The Harlem Renaissance was a cultural, artistic, and social explosion. It was a time when many African Americans used art. Artists, poets, photographers, writers, to express their feelings about their life and discrimination. It mostly occurred in Harlem, New York from 1918 to 1935.
The radio was like the TV of today. It informed Americans about important things that happened around the world. Almost every home had one during the 1920s. People gathered around the radio in their homes to listen to music, weather, sports, and community shows.
In the 1920s, about 75% of Americans went to the theaters to watch movies for entertainment. Each week it cost about 25 cents. The first movies were black and white without sound.
Jazz music was created by African American men in New Orleans in the late 1800s. It became popular during the 1920s and includes string and brass instruments. Many people went to dance halls to dance to the upbeat music. Some popular dances were the Charleston, the shimmy, and the black bottom.
Flappers were women who wore short skirts, makeup, and short hairstyles. They danced to jazz music and did things that women didn't normally do.
The radio made sports popular in the U.S. For the first time, people could listen to games or boxing matches on the radio to keep up with their favorite team or athlete. Many people wanted to forget about the war that had just ended and have fun. The three most popular sports were baseball, football, and boxing. Babe Ruth was a popular player and set many world records in baseball.
As you can see, the 1920s was a great change in our country. However, the 1930s went downhill. Here are some highlights of the dark time in history. Black Tuesday was the worst stock market crash in U.S. history. At the end of October, panic gripped the stock market and people began to sell massive amounts of stock. The worst days were October 28th and 29th. That became known as Black Monday and Tuesday.
The stock market crash was only one of many causes of the Great Depression. The Great Depression was a period of severe economic hardship that began in the United States in 1929. During the next 3 years, an average of 100,000 people lost their jobs each week.
Hoovervilles were tiny houses made out of scraps or of wood or cardboard that provided shelter for homeless people. Many of these tiny villages were called Hoovervilles because many people believed that President Herbert Hoover was responsible for the Great Depression. The Dust Bowl was a period of severe dust storms that greatly damaged the farmland along the Great Plains. Many people lost their farms and moved to California to look for work.
Franklin D. Roosevelt was the 32nd President of the United States. He became president during the Great Depression and hoped to help Americans out of difficult times.
President Roosevelt created many plans to get our country out of the Great Depression. We reform, we write, and we cover.
Fireside chats were radio broadcasts by President Franklin Roosevelt to inform Americans about what the government was doing to help our country during the Great Depression.
As you can see, the 1920s and the 1930s were an important time of major change in history.
We hope you enjoyed our Friday celebration. Please join us in singing our school song.
GSI is a special place that's filled with wonder. I'm free to be me with